Hello everyone. So in this lecture we'll see what is an associative memory and how to design this type of memory for a computer system. So before we see the internal design of an associative memory, let us see some basic characteristics, how this associative memory differs from the conventional random access memory, and what are the applications for which associative memory is better to use compared to any conventional type of memory. So associative memory, which is also known as content addressable memory, which is sometimes abbreviated as CAM, is a memory in which addresses are not needed. That means to store something in an associative memory or to retrieve some already stored data, you don't need to specify addresses. Data can be fetched, data can be extracted uh, from the content itself with the help of the actual content itself. So here no address is required to be given at the time of storing some new data in the memory. Similarly, you don't need to specify an address when you want to read something from the associative memory. So to facilitate this characteristics, this CAM or associative memory should have the ability to find the empty unused locations which can be used to store new words. So there are specific methodologies to be used for performing read as well as write operations on the associative memory. So in this lecture, we'll see what are these methods, how the associative memory is actually designed, what are the internal components included in the design of an associative memory, and what could be the complexity of designing an associative memory, and we'll also compare the way in which the write operation can be performed in an associative memory and random access memory. So these are the basic characteristics. Whenever you want to read something from an associative memory, you need to specify the whole word or a part of the word using which the control can find the required data. For example, let's say we have students' records stored in an associative memory. Let's say this records contain students' roll numbers, their names, their contact information like address, phone number, etc., semester, and total number of credits they have earned so far, and the department with which the students are associated. Now let's say I want to find the information, all these attributes of a particular student from the given memory, from the given associative memory. As addresses are not required here, what I need to do if I want to find the information about a particular student, I have to specify the roll number, because for all the students roll number would be unique. So using this roll number value, I can simply find the rest of the attributes which are defined for that particular student. So here roll number is the content of the word that we want to find. If I do not know the exact roll number, let's say the roll numbers are stored using this pattern 18 BCE and then the actual number in 3 digits. So if I do not know the exact roll number, then I can simply write 18 BCE because I do not know what is the exact roll number. So in this case, if I simply specify 18 BCE as the search string using which the associative memory is required to produce the matching results, then all the students whose roll numbers start with 18 BCE will be available in the result. So here, as you can see from this example, we are not required to specify any address. We are not required to define or specify the memory location where the required content, where the required record is available. So that is the basic characteristic of an associative memory. Whenever you want to find something, just specify a part of the content using which the search operation can be performed. Now if we talk about the cost, Then of course we need some additional complex logic compared to random access memory, and that's why the overall design cost of an associative memory is high, comparatively high than a random access memory. So there are specific applications in which the search time is a crucial factor, where the search time is very critical and very short to produce the required results from the memory. So for such applications, it is a good option to use associative memory than the conventional memory like random access memory. So this is the hardware organization, the block diagram of an associative memory. To design an associative memory, we require some memory logic. Here, if you remember, as you have studied in digital systems also, a memory unit can be designed as a series of flip-flops. So hundreds or thousands of flip-flops can be included in the form of a memory array, and that defines the associative memory array. Here, in general, the size of this associative memory array is m words, small m words. That means total m words are available in this associative memory array. The width of one memory word is n bits. That means at max you can store n bits in one word, and m such words are available in this array. Now for this associative memory, it is possible to execute read as well as write operations. So read and write are needed as two control inputs for designing this memory. Whenever the write operation is required to be performed on this memory, you have to provide some input data. So using this external input data pin, you can send n-bit data to this associative memory to be stored at a particular location. Similarly, when the read operation is selected for this memory, then based on the specified search string, the control will read the required information, and that data will be placed on the n-bit output line. Remember that here the width of the input and output lines are n bits. Apart from this memory array and control inputs, we need to have three registers to design the working model of an associative memory. These three registers are argument register A, key register K, and a match register M. Now let us see what is the use of having these three registers in this configuration. So as I have said, addresses are not maintained to design an associative memory. That means if you want to perform the read operation, when you want to read something from the stored content, or you want to store something new into the given associative memory, you have to directly specify the content. So that content can be placed in the argument register A. So let's say 18 BCE, for example, 18 BCE is my search string. I want to find all the records from the associative memory which contain 18 BCE as the roll number value. So I can simply specify 18 BCE in the argument register capital A. Here I am giving a generic example, otherwise everything must be in the binary form. So whatever is the content using which you want to perform the read operation, or the content that you want to write to one of the locations in this associative memory, that value must be specified in the argument register A. Now what should be the size of this argument register A? As I have told you, the width of one memory word in this associative memory array is n bits. The size of the argument register A must also be n bits, because ultimately whatever you specify in A, that must be matched with one or more words in the associative memory. So the size of the argument register A is n bits. Now let us see what is the key register K. Now sometimes you do not know the exact word using which the matching operation, the comparison can take place. So in that case, if you want to use only a part of the argument register, then you can specify some bits, some values in the key register. For example, I want to find the information of all 18 BCE students. But in the argument register, I have specified 18 BCE 001. But using this 18 BCE 001 search string, which is available in the argument register, I want to extract all the records from the associative memory which contain 18 BCE in the roll number attribute. So what I can do, 18 BCE I need to extract the records of all the students who are from 18 BCE batch. So the last 3 digits of the argument register is containing 18 BCE 001. That means I have to treat the last 3 digits of the argument register as don't care values, because I don't want to include 001 in my search operation. I don't want the control to search using the last part of my argument string, that is 18 BCE 001. I don't want the control to use 001. So in that case, to omit that particular part of the argument string, I can specify some values in the key register. Basically, here if you can recall the properties of the mask operation which you have studied in chapter 4. So mask operation can be performed, and based on the requirement of omitting or ignoring some of the bit values, you can set bits in the key register. We'll see one example to understand how this key register can be used to perform the mask operation, so that only a part of the argument register is used by the control to perform the search operation or to perform the comparison. So this is about the key register. Now what should be the length, what should be the width of the key register K? It should obviously be n bits, because here if you want to perform the mask operation on the bits of the argument register, the width of the operand which is available in the key register must be equal to the width of the bits, width of the content available in the argument register. So both argument register and key register have the same width, n bits. Now let us see what is the use of the match register M. As I have told you, one or more words, or sometimes it happens that whatever you are trying to search from this associative memory is nowhere available. So in that case, 0 words. So 0 or more words of this associative memory array can match with the given argument register. So if there is a match, if you are getting a non-zero value, that means if the given argument is matching with one or more words in the associative memory, then the corresponding bit in the match register is set to 1. For each word in the associative memory, there is one designated bit in the match register. As you know, here the associative memory is having total m words. That means the width of the match register must be m bits. For each memory word of the associative memory, we have 1 bit in the match register. So if the given word in the associative memory is matched with the content in the argument register, then the corresponding bit in the match register is set to 1. Otherwise, if no match occurs, then the corresponding bit in the match register is cleared to 0. So that is the purpose of the match register. Okay. Now let us see how to use the key register if you want to perform the mask operation on the content of the argument register. So let's say in the argument register we have this 9 bits, 101, 111, 100, and these 2 words are available in the associative memory. Now if I specify 111 and 6 zeros in my key register K, then what will happen? As you can see, The three most significant bits of k are 1. The remaining bits of k are zeros. That means from the argument register, the control is required to consider only those bit positions, those bit values where the corresponding bits in k register are ones. The remaining bits of A will be treated as don't care bits. That means no comparison is required to be performed for the first 6 bits of the argument register A. So the effect of this masking you can see for these two words of the given associative memory. If you look at the first word, it contains 100, 111, 100. As I have told you, because of this mask operation, because we have first 6 zeros in the key register, this 111, 100, this part will not have any effect in comparison. So the control will simply keep comparing the first 6 bits. Now it will simply compare only the last 3 bits. It should be 101 because that is the value available in the argument register. Now what value we have in word 1? 100. That means the 3 bits are not matching with this. 101 is not equal to 100. So there is no match. Now look at the value available in word 2. Here we have 101, 000, 001. As I have told you, first 6 bits are don't care bits. No comparison is needed for the first 6 bits. Only the last 3 bits will be compared. So here for the last 3 bits, what value is available in word 2? 101. The same value is given in the argument register for the same bit positions. So there is a match for word 2. Whatever is specified in the argument register, that is matching with the content of word 2 in the associative memory. So the corresponding bit in the match register for word 2 will be set to 1. As there is no match for word 1, the corresponding bit value in the match register for word 1 will be cleared to 0. So this is how you can use the key register K for performing the mask operation. Mask is basically AND with 0 operation. This diagram shows the internal configuration of the associative memory. So as I have told you, 3 registers are available in the hardware organization of an associative memory: the argument register A, the key register K, and the match register M. So individual bits of these registers are shown here. So for the argument register A, we have bits from 1 to N. So A1, A2, AJ up to AN. So AJ is some intermediate value, some intermediate bit available in the argument register. Similarly, as the width of the key register K is also N bits, we have bits from K1 up to Kn. The width of the match register is M bits, so M1, M2, Mi up to Mm. These are the individual bits of the match register. If you consider the associative memory array and the individual memory cells available in that array, then for word 1 we have total n bits, because we have assumed that each word is of size n bits. So this is the first cell for word 1, C11, C12, C13, C1j is some intermediate cell value up to C1n. So this 1 specifies that these are the cells for word 1, and the second subscript value specifies the bit number. So for word I, similarly we can have CI1, CI2, CI3, CIJ for the jth bit and CIN for the last bit, nth bit. Similarly for word M, as you can see, the total size of this associative memory is M bits. So the last word in this memory configuration is word M, word number M. CM1, CM2, CM3, CMJ is some intermediate value up to CMN. So this is how individual bits are available internally in an associative memory and the corresponding registers. Okay, now if we want to see the internal construction of this individual cells, then we have to recall the relationship between the memory components, memory cells, and registers. So for any register or for any memory cell, the basic underlying component is a specific type of flip-flop. Flip-flops are the basic memory elements. So to design registers or memory cells or other type of memory elements, we always need a series of flip-flops to be connected in a particular manner. So here also, if you consider any particular memory cell from this associative memory configuration, then you can refer to this block diagram to understand the internal construction of that particular memory cell. So let's say we want to understand the internal construction of this particular cell, Cij. That means word number I, and one particular cell of this word, one particular bit of this word we have selected, that is jth bit, Cij. So here RS flip-flops are used to construct the associative memory. That is the most commonly used type to construct memory elements. So RS flip-flops are used to construct these memory cells. Here we are trying to understand the construction of one such memory cell. So one RS flip-flop is available because one memory cell is capable of storing one bit of information. And to store one bit of information, one flip-flop is sufficient. So this is one RS flip-flop in which we can store our data. Both read and write operations can be performed on this RS flip-flop, set reset flip-flop. So if some external input value is required to be stored in this flip-flop, then the write control input must be enabled. It must be 1. So the end of write and the actual input bit is given to the S input pin of the flip-flop. This is a very simple logic. Whenever the write input control input is 1, then only the input bit should go to the S input pin of the flip-flop. Otherwise, there should not be any change in the state of the flip-flop. It should continue with its previous state. Similarly, if you want to store something for the R input of this flip-flop, then the same input value but in the complemented form can be ANDed with the write control input for this memory cell. Now why this complement is needed? For that you have to recall the basic characteristic of RS flip-flop. Set reset flip-flop. There is a relationship between the two types of flip-flops that we have for an RS flip-flop. Set and reset are actually complements of each other. So if you are storing the input in its original form for the S pin, its complemented value must be available in the R pin. That's why we are simply negating, we are taking one's complement of the input bit which can be given to the input R. Now the original value which is available in the S pin of the flip-flop can be extracted, can be obtained as the output if the read input for this particular flip-flop or memory cell is enabled. So to get the output from this flip-flop, we require the value available in the S pin. So this is basically Q, output Q, which is ANDed with read control input for the memory cell. So basically when read is 1, whatever is the Q output of the flip-flop, that will be produced as the final output from this memory cell. Now here as you can see from this diagram, with each memory word, one bit of the match register is also associated. So whatever is the output Fij generated by this flip-flop, the value which is available in the flip-flop Fij, that is also given to the match logic. We currently have no clear idea about the match logic. So at this point of time, this match logic is like a black box for us. We'll see what should be the exact logic to be included in this box, and we'll also try to simplify that logic. We'll try to identify what kind of components should be used and what should be the exact logic. But at this point of time, this match logic is like a box. So whatever is the value available in this flip-flop, that is given to this match logic. This match logic also requires the corresponding bit of the argument register, because the ultimate requirement of doing all this exercise is to perform comparison. We want to compare the bits of the argument register with the bits available in the memory cells. So jth bit, as we are considering the construction of this particular cell Cij in this diagram, I am considering the jth bit of the argument register, because word I is the word number, J is the bit. So the corresponding bit in the argument register is AJ, and the corresponding bit in the key register is KJ. So AJ, KJ and Fij, that is the bit value available in the memory cell Cij. These three things are needed to use this match logic properly and to set a particular bit Mi in the match register. Now let us try to define the logic for the match process, for the comparison process. So as you can see from this diagram, if I have some word available in the argument register, that means this n bits in the argument register are set to some specific bit combinations A1 up to AN. So this basically, this A1 up to AN, this bit combinations are required to be compared with every word available in the associative memory. So first, this combination will be compared with word 1. If a match is found, then the corresponding bit in the match register, that is M1 in this example, will be set to 1. If the same word is matched with the ith word in the associative memory, then the corresponding bit in the match register will be set to 1, and it will go on until it accesses all the words available in the associative memory. So now my question is, how these bits of the argument register A will be compared with the cells, memory cells, the bit combinations available in the memory cells of word 1 or any word that is present in this memory configuration. So basically we want to compare each bit of the argument register with the corresponding bit in the associative memory configuration. So for that, for doing that comparison, we can simply use XNOR operation. AJ, let's say we want to define a general equation using which this comparison can take place. So if we have jth bit of the argument register, this is AJ, then this is required to be compared with Cij. If I take the ith bit of the associative memory, Cij can be also written as Fij, the output of the RS flip-flop that contains the value of Cij. So basically the XNOR operation is required to be performed on AJ and Fij. If you consider the logic equation for performing this XNOR operation, then it can be written as AJ Fij plus AJ dash Fij dash. AB plus A dash B dash. This is how we write, this is how we specify the XNOR operation on two binary variables. So here our variables are AJ and Fij, so this is how we can perform the XNOR operation. And actually this comparison is required to be done for all the bits, for all n bits which are available in the argument register A, and all the memory cells which are available in one particular word of the associative memory. So here J ranges from 1 to n. Okay, so let us call the result of this XNOR Xj. So Xj specifies the XNOR of one particular bit, jth bit of A, and the value available in the corresponding position in the memory cell, that is Fij. So if these two bit values match, then the XNOR of this two variables, these two values will be 1. So Xj will be 1 if the right hand side of this equation evaluates to 1. Now this is just for one bit. This is just for one bit positions. You have n such bit positions available in the argument register as well as in the associative memory. That means all x, if you want to say that all the bits of the argument register A are matching with the bits available in the given memory word J, then this xj must be found for all bits. That means for j is equal to 1 to n, you have to find this xj value, and all this xj value must be 1. Now how to check this condition? Now you know the logic of performing the comparison. You are simply performing the XNOR operation, but you want that all these xj values must be 1 to say that the argument register's content is matching with one of the words available in the associative memory. So for that, you can simply perform the AND operation on all x values that you get using this equation. So x1, x2, x3 up to xn. AND operation is present on the right hand side between this x values. So whatever is the result of this AND operation, let us call it mi, and mi is actually what? The corresponding bit for that particular word in the match register. So if the end of all these bits is 1, that means if all the bits of A and the corresponding memory cells in one memory word are matching, that means the corresponding bit in the match register must be set to 1. Mi must be set to 1. If any one of the bits in the right hand side in this equation x1, x2, x3 up to xn is 0, then mi will be 0. No exact match is there. Now note that in this equation, in this match logic, we have not considered the value of the key register k. Sometimes when you want to compare the word in the argument register partially, you need to set some bits in the key register k. So let us now try to introduce this k in our match logic. So xj is not sufficient. We need to consider kj also to define the exact correct match logic. So for that we can use this type of logic, xj plus kj dash. Now kj is a bit in the key register. As we are defining all these equations in general terms, for the jth bit, kj is the corresponding bit in the key register k. So if kj is 1, then only we have to consider the bit available in xj. If kj is 1, then only the corresponding bit in the argument register is required to be considered for comparison. Otherwise, if kj is 0, then we are not required to look at the bit values available in the argument registers. Those bits are simply don't care bits, don't care bit values. So to implement this logic, we can use OR operation between xj and kj dash, because when kj is 0, kj dash will be 1. And as here we have a simple logical OR operation, if one of the arguments in the OR operation is 1, the other argument does not make any logic significance. If one of the arguments is 1, the result of the OR operation will be 1. So this 1 is needed because that particular bit aj is not required to be considered for comparison. It is not required to be used for comparison. So it's anyway a don't care bit, and that's why we can simply set 1 to ignore that bit in the comparison. If kj is 1, that means the exact match should be there between aj and fij. So in that case, if kj is 1, then its complement will be 0. If one of the arguments in the logical OR operation is 0, the result of the final OR operation depends on the other argument, that is xj. Now the second argument is 0, so the output of this OR operation will be xj. If xj is 0, the output will be 0. If xj is 1, then the output will be 1. So this is how we can use kj to ignore the don't care bits and consider the required bits in the argument register. Basically, this is how we can implement the mask operation. So if we now use this logic, xj plus kj dash, because we have just derived that only xj is not sufficient. So in this mi equation also, now instead of using only x values, we can use this combination xj plus kj dash. So after including this kj dash in the equation, we can have mi as x1 plus k1 dash and into product operation, logical product operation, that is basically a logical AND operation. x2 plus k2 dash into x3 plus k3 dash up to xn plus kn dash. So every time with every x value, you have to also consider the corresponding k value, k bit value from the key register. Now this is just for one bit of the match register, that is mi. For xi also, for xj also, we have this value x nor of aj and fij. So in this equation, if we substitute the value of xj using our first equation aj fij plus aj dash fij dash, then we'll get aj fij plus aj dash fij dash plus kj dash for the jth bit. So and this process, this equation, this logical OR operation is required to be performed on all possible x and k values. So basically, if you consider this equation mi is equal to x1 plus k1 dash into x2 plus k2 dash and so on, then x1 can be replaced as a1 f1 a1 f i1 plus a1 dash f i1 dash plus k1 dash. Okay, and as you know, for each x value and for each k value, this type of operations are needed. We can simply show this equation as mi as the product of aj fij plus aj dash fij dash plus kj dash, where j is from 1 to n. So this is the final match logic we have derived, which can be used to implement in an associative memory. So for this match logic block, now we know the internal logic. So this match logic block is required to have the implementation of this final mi equation. So this is the logical implementation of mi. Basic gates are used to implement the equation, the final equation of mi, and or not, and for the memory cells we have used flip-flops. So this is about the design of an associative memory. Now I have already explained how the read operation can be performed. Whatever is the content available in the argument register that is required to be matched with one or more memory words of the associative memory, and one by one the words of the words available in the associative memory are compared, and the corresponding bits in the match register are set to either 1 or 0. Now let us see how the write operation will take place. So there are two types of write operations that we need for an associative memory. If we consider the initial scenario where the memory is totally empty, it does not contain any data. In that case, if you want to load the entire memory with new information at once prior to any search or read operation, then you can choose the sequential writing operation. Just like you can do in any conventional memory, random access memory. As the memory is totally empty, it does not contain any data, one by one you can use the empty available memory locations to store the data. So in this case, if you are performing the initial write operation, then in that case, this associative memory will act as random access memory for performing the write operation, but content addressable memory for performing the read operation, because read will be performed only after performing the initial write. Now let us consider the other possible type of the write operation. Suppose the given associative memory is already having some information. Now you want to insert one new word in that already existing, already filled up associative memory. So for that, first you need to find the available location, the appropriate location, the required location at which you can insert that new word. For that, associative memory typically use a tag register, an additional register. So the basic purpose of this tag register is to differentiate between the active and inactive words. Now what is the difference between active and inactive words? Active memory word means the memory word which is currently used by the system or which has been used by the system recently. Inactive word means either that word logically does not exist for the system or it is not required by the system anymore. Or it can be the word which has not been accessed by the system for a longer time. So this is the use of the tag register. So whenever a new word is required to be returned in the associative memory, the control checks the corresponding bits in the tag register. So for every active word in the associative memory, the corresponding bit in the tag register is set to 1. So this tag register is similar to match register, and that's why the size of the tag register is also m bits. For each memory word available in the given associative memory, there is 1 bit available in the tag register. So if you have small m words in the associative memory, there should be m bits in the tag register. The possible values for the tag bits are 0 or 1. If the word is active, then the corresponding bit in the tag register for that particular word is 1, otherwise it is cleared to 0. So whenever a word is deleted from memory, then that location is marked as available by setting the tag bit to 0, by setting the corresponding value in the tag register to 0. So to write a new word in the associative memory, what the control does, it searches for zeros in the tag registers. Whenever it encounters the first 0 in the tag register, the corresponding memory word is overwritten by the new content. So this is how the write operation, two types of write operations, initial write and normal single write operation, can take place for the associative memory. So based on this understanding of the associative memory, you will be able to solve these two problems. The first problem is obtain the Boolean function for the match logic of one word in an associative memory, taking into consideration a tag bit that indicates whether the word is active or inactive. So to answer this question, you can have a block diagram. So basically in this configuration, argument register, key register, match register and the actual memory, all these components are available. Now you need to include tag register also in this configuration, and the required interconnections you can also show. So a block diagram would be sufficient to answer this question. And the second question is, what additional logic is required to give a no match result for a word in an associative memory when all key bits are zeros? All key bits are zeros, that means all the bits of the argument register are actually don't care conditions. If you have ones in the key register, then only the corresponding bits of the argument register are used for comparison. What if you have all zeros in the key register? In that case, what should be done? What kind of result should be displayed by the system? So that logic you can explain as the answer to this question. So in the next lecture, we'll see how to design a cache memory for a computer system. Thank you.